If you're just joining us, I'm Tim Barkley with Charleston Home Design Magazine, and today's radio show is coming to you from Carolina Lanterns and Lighting, located at 1362 Chuck Dolly Boulevard in Mount Pleasant. And now we're talking with Paul Abrams with Smart Vent. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great, Tim. Thanks for having us.
Sure. Paul, tell everybody about Smart Vent.
Well, Smart Vent is a engineered flood opening. It's basically an air vent that opens up, allows water and debris to pass through in a flood situation, reducing the hydrostatic pressure that builds up on the walls of the foundation, and it actually lowers flood insurance.
Gotcha. Now, what kinds of flooding? What would cause a flood here in Charleston that would require the smart vent flood vents would operate?
Well, we think of hurricanes and high surge and floods there, but we've had a lot of rain here lately, and those rains actually cause the rivers and streams and creeks to rise, and a lot of us have retention ponds and things in our subdivisions. They have a tendency to rise too. So people that pay flood insurance, and you probably know that because you have to pay a premium every year. So flood insurance, if you pay in flood, the vents can help you reduce those floods.
Gotcha. And some people pay, a reasonable amount for flood insurance, and some people, depending on where you live, pay an awful lot for flood insurance.
That's correct. And October 3rd, there was actually a law that went into effect, the Bigger Water Act, and of course there was another law that came behind it to offset the cost, and it was the Grim Waters Act. But FEMA now can raise flood insurance up to 18 to 25% each year until that house is compliant, or if they reach the premium. So somebody that's paying $500 a year now, their rates are going to go up every year, 18 to 25%, until they meet that what FEMA says is their premium. So it's going to get higher and higher each year.
Gotcha. And how do flood vents help save homeowners money?
It's actually the key component. There's other things like lifting air conditioning units and getting the mechanical up, but a lot of people don't have flood vents, and flood vents are designed to relieve that hydrostatic pressure that builds up on that wall. If water can't go around it, can't go over it, basically goes through it.
And what does a flood vent look like? Where are they located on the house?
Right there at the foundation. They air vents. Right now, most people have air vents in their home, and that's why their flood rates are going up, because air vents are not flood vents.
Gotcha. So a lot of people's houses are built on a crawl space, and a lot of times the crawl space is built out of like concrete block, and there's usually like a space about the size of a cinder block, and some people just have like a screen on there right now to kind of keep out rodents and things like that.
And that's the code. Code says we have to keep the varmints out there, but we also, during a flood situation, once the water starts moving in, debris starts collecting on that screen, and that screen clogs up and causes the dam, and hydrostatic pressure takes the wall out from underneath the house.
Gotcha. So if you have one of those screens, if you have those type screens on your foundation right now, you're going to have a problem if we have a flood event.
That's correct.
And so, tell us how the smart vent flood vents operate when there is a flood.
Sure. Smart vents are actually locked in place. The rise of the water, the rise of the flood water, activates the vent to open up. It pivots the door open, and that way it allows that debris and water to pass through the foundation. They also work in two directions, so you're allowing the water, once it enters the foundation, it can move out of the foundation freely, and you're equalizing. A lot of these, I've seen other vents and things that critters can walk right through. It's just like a little doggy door. Our doors lock in place, so that way it protects the home from varmint, but it activates during the flood, and that's the only time you can get in there.
And so it kind of serves two purposes. Then it does keep out the rodents, and who wants those kind of things underneath your house to begin with, and then secondly, and it's not a matter of if, but when, as cliche as that sounds. But we've been lucky. You turn on the news and the national news, and there's always some sort of a weather story out there where there's flooding and things like that. And so unfortunately, they don't call it the Low Country for nothing.
That's
here
right.
in Charleston. So we are going to have some flooding, and so if you have one of those flood vents, or how many flood vents typically on a house?
A 1,200 square foot house, our product is engineered and designed for 200 square foot of opening. So in a 1,200 square foot house, you'd use 6 smart vents.
Okay, and cost-wise, are flood vents
Around each vent's around $250. I mean,
okay.
you kind of shop around. We have dealers in the Charleston market that do carry the smart vent, and but it varies from location to location. But on average, around $210 to $250 a vent.
I've been reading a lot in the news about people are when they're about to buy a house. They're doing their due diligence, and they discover that the flood insurance is going to rise quite a bit if they buy this house, and that's killed a lot of real estate deals. What can a homeowner do if they're looking to maybe put flood vents in their house, or maybe they want to see what the savings would be if they had smart vent flood vents in their house?
Sure. I mean, we get that call from realtors all the time, because the realtor goes to closing, and the mortgage company tells the homeowner, your flood insurance is going to be this real high number, and all of a sudden it kills the deal. I mean, you're looking at some homes around this neck of the woods, premiums of $30,000 a year. It's pretty substantial.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so when you get there and you get that sticker shock, your flood insurance is going to be that much. People wig out. So existing homes and new homes, we've got a neat program in place with SmartVent, and it's actually the Flood Risk Evaluator. And what you do is you send your copy of your elevation certificate to FRE, our office there. They actually mitigate it for you. They'll take the evaluation or the elevation certificate and go through it, looking at everything, send a report back to you, and tell you exactly what you need to do to mitigate it, and then we offer the lower flood insurance. So you're seeing the high rate that you're paying now. After you mitigate, then you see the lower rate. So that's just a service that we're offering to any homeowner or property owner that may have high flood insurance.
Gotcha. Now, some people may not know what an elevation certificate is.
Okay. Elevation certificate is actually, when the surveyor comes out, it's required by if you get a loan through the bank, which is governed by the government, FDIC, it has to have a elevation certificate. An elevation certificate tells the mortgage companies and all the powers that be where your base flood elevation, where that 100-year flood will come to, and also tell you exactly what's in danger. So the elevation certificate is sort of like a roadmap to what could happen in mitigation or if you have a flood.
Gotcha. So anybody who's bought a house here in the Charleston area, you have is it the buyer or the seller who has to provide?
Usually, the mortgage company will require whoever it is selling the house has to have the house up to grade before they can sell it. So, if you go to sell a house and you find out that the mortgage or the flood insurance is going to be real high, the homeowner has to go back and make the house compliant to close the deal.
I gotcha. So homeowners can contact SmartVent and go to your website and then email you a flood certificate, an elevation certificate, and you'll be able to tell them how, by adding SmartVent flood vents, how it's going to lower your
Right.
flood insurance.
Actually, the website is www.yourfloodrisk.com. Yourfloodrisk.com.
Okay.
And they can go to that website, and the form is online, so you can fill it out. Like I said, attach the elevation certificate, pictures of the property. We'll take that, mitigate it, send it back with a full report, and basically telling you what you need to do to make the house compliant. And like I said, we show you the higher rate that you're paying today, and then after you mitigate, what your rate will go to. So it gives you a way to say this is a good return on investment.
Gotcha. And you don't have to be selling a house, right? I mean, your existing home, you might be paying more than you need to for flood insurance right now. So if if you're planning to stay in your home, you ought to
Absolutely.
visit the Smart Vent website and do the FRE, that stands for the flood
It's
risk
a flood risk evaluator.
evaluator. Okay,
Right.
and see if you can save some money.
Basically, I mean, we get calls all the time from existing homeowners. The premiums come due. We may pay it through escrow. We may not see that until like the end of the year, and then you see that your house payment's gone up because your flood insurance has been risen. They actually take what was due last year to make up the difference, and then they charge you for the next year. So you're actually paying a double premium at the end of the year. So your house payment will go up because of that escrow.
Very, very easy thing that homeowners can do to save themselves money on their flood insurance. But then also, you also have the added benefit of the peace of mind and knowing that you've got those properly functioning smart vent flood vents on your house. And if we do have a flood, what would happen if you don't have flood vents on your house?
Well, take the chance of the foundation collapsing.
Okay.
If, like I said, if water can't go around it, can't go over it, it's actually going to go through it.
Okay.
It doesn't take a whole lot of water, and there's a lot of damage. There's more damage caused by floods than there are fires in the United States. So water can do a lot of damage, and what we want to do is we want to build up and out of those flood areas by doing freeboard, which is building up out of that base flood elevation, but also putting the flood vents in place to relieve that hydrostatic pressure.
Well, what was that website again to get the flood rating evaluation?
It's yourfloodrisk.com. www.yourfloodrisk.com.
Okay. And how can they get in touch with SmartVent in general?
www.smartvent.com. We have dealers in the area. You can actually go to our website and pull up surveyors that understand flood venting to do your elevation certificates. We've got dealers in place, and we also have insurance agents that understand it as well on our website.
All right, great. Well, we have been talking with Paul Abrams with SmartVent. Thanks so much, Paul.
Thank you. Appreciate it.